Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we are back, and we got to talk about the Democrats' 2026 chances. And boy, they are not looking good. However, you'll have a lot of people saying otherwise. And but before I get into that, today our agenda will be looking at the 2026 scenario from the Senate to the House to the governor races. You already had Red Eagle come out, gave a more interesting analysis on the more national numbers. I'm going to go ahead and look at by state because I think it's more concerned. Like, yeah, sure, there's issues that can result to a red wave and a blue wave, but ultimately there are what's consequential to the whole year is the candidates who run. And we are going to go ahead and talk about that. And I think political chatter is actually getting to what I am trying to say, but he's kind of being a bit delusional. I'm not going to lie. He has released a new video, said, shock new poll. Democrats set to flip Republican Senate seats in 2026 midterms. And I think that's kind of funny, mainly because, he doesn't really, I watched the video, he says, oh yeah, Republicans are infighting. Well, what about Democrats? The Democratic Party has a 19% approval rating, and he's more looking at it in a national standpoint. And I'm thinking that, you're just like with Red Eagle politics, he tends to really look at a national standpoint. You got to do that, but you have to look at it in a state standpoint too. And he's just recently been boasting about a poll about Cooper beating out Michael Whatley. But here's the thing, though. He's not taking into context that this is what Red Eagle likes to call summer response bias polling, right? This is summer response bias. He is not taking into account that, there is a pattern, okay? There is a pattern, a huge, long history of Democrat polling advantages during summertime. And this is obviously makes sense by the name because Democrats are at home. You're seeing Democrats go marching around all summer with the No Kings protests. You just had a redistricting nationwide protest. Democrats have time. And I said in a previous video that, Democrats are unemployed. They don't go to work. They sit there in their little hut in Massachusetts and they smoke crack. And in their work time, they go work at McDonald's. That's what they do. But that does play a role in response bias because then again, like I said also, Democrats are more likely, they're impulsive, they're strong-willed, they are willing to go out of their way. You see, they go out to these Republican town halls. CNN says, look, these Democrats are going to show up with momentum in the midterms. And I'm like, sure, I bet they will. TDS does everything to your brain, right? But the thing is, if they're showing up to town halls and protests and rallies, they're definitely going to be the first ones to click the poll. They're the most overwhelmingly likely voter to be resonating with these polls. Do you approve Donald Trump? Well, the average Trump supporter that has a job that works, who's a trucker or something like that, they don't see those polls. They're working. They're working hands-on. They're not on the internet. Democrats are on the internet at least 20 more hours than Republicans. That is a huge impact. And that's something that he's not really touching base with. That obviously you do have history. He goes about, Trump's a historic approval rating. He doesn't talk about the Democratic Party approval. Or maybe he did. I didn't watch the whole thing. But then again, I bet he did probably mention it, but I know he is countering that and pivoting from this because this does not look like an election where this does not look like an election where the opposition party is unpopular, right? It looks like a very popular Democratic Party. And he notice not one of these seats are tilting. Democrat. Meaning none of these indications are going to be close. Here's the problem. I don't want to belittle and go after political chatter. And I bring him up because, for one thing, he released a video that is related to this video. I don't have a personal problem with political chatter, but if he releases something that I think is worth talking about and it's related to the video coming up, I'm going to talk about it. That's how it goes. And just mainly because the only problem I have with political chatter is he claims to be non-biased, okay? He claims to be nonpartisan, independent. I'm looking at his paragraph. It says, "Welcome to the political chatter. You go to the destination for in-depth analysis of American elections. Dive into the data-driven world of politics as we break down polling trends, state-by-state dynamics, and the ever-evolving electoral map. Our channel offers a clear and unbiased look at the numbers that matter, helping you understand how shifting trends and emerging patterns could shape the next election. Whether you're a political junkie, a casual voter, or just curious about the latest in American politics, the political chatter delivers insightful, fact-based content, keep you informed and engaged." Now, I wouldn't say this ticks me off, but this really this kind of puts me off a little bit because, okay, does this look like a non-biased channel? Democrats set to flip Republican Senate seats, even though we'll go over it today. It says, this guy sounds very excited. Zohran Mamdani is going to be New York City's next mayor. Very exciting. Breaking! Democrats score massive victory in I want to believe it's Supreme Court special election or Senate election. I don't know what it is. It was a Senate election of some sort. New poll. Trump approval hits record low. Okay, this doesn't sound like something that's non-biased or unbiased. Landslide is possible. Democrats on track for massive wins. This is what I'm getting. So yeah, you got also AOC could win the presidency. This is what I'm getting. Okay? I don't mean to expose political chatter and accuse them of lying, but let's be honest. Come on. You are biased, political chatter. You are clearly biased. And you're not the only one. We'll admit it. You also have Let's Talk Elections joining you. He says he's independent and non-biased. And look at his content. Now, people go after me for being biased, and that's fine. I don't care. If political chatter wants to advocate for the Democratic Party, let him do it. I don't care. Maybe I'll still bring up his videos here and there, but it's not meant to be disrespectful or an attack. It's more to, like, there's some Republicans that'll question. It's like, okay, what's political chatter saying? What's your perspective of what he's saying? Now, what really does, the only problem I have is, okay, political chatter, you're saying you're unbiased. I saw not one video of good news for Republicans. And, you know, on my channel, we really cover the Republicans because we are a Republican Party MAGA-based channel. I admit that in my description. Now, I'm on my alternate account, but my account clearly says, right here, "Hi, I am North Star Elections. We are a right-wing populist political channel that will analyze elections and make bold predictions on future turnouts for our country and the world. Here is our prediction track record from the 2024 election. I am mostly transparent. As you see, I overestimated Kamala Harris because I am someone that recognizes that, you know what, Republican Party, like political chatter says, is divided. It is a party that is splintering and can have problems. Democratic Party is mobilized in voting in elections as of 2024, at least. They know how to turn out their voters. So I'm unbiased when it comes to that. So I just wanted to mention political chatter because there are people that go around saying that Republicans are doomed, and they claim to be unbiased. And I just look at it, and I'm just saying, no. Now, political chatter, he's correct that, Republicans aren't going to, Democrats are going to probably lose the Senate. Correct. But he's saying he's going to pick up Senate seats. Now, the only seat I have Democrats picking up is Maine. And now, the only way they're going to pick up Maine is if Susan Collins doesn't run. And if Susan Collins doesn't run, it could be theirs this year. It will be flipping. By 2026, we will know if Susan Collins runs, and whether Maine goes Republican or not, it will not be much of a blow to the Republican Party. For example, Susan Collins doesn't run for re-election next year. She comes out like tomorrow or in late August or maybe early September and says, hey, I'm not running. Maybe we get a splash of cold water. I'm expected we would get that. But fast forward to November, the inevitable happens. Someone like Janet Mills wins Maine. Republicans lose a Senate seat. Are we surprised? No, because we knew that would happen. No, and Democrats want to take a victory lap over it, and we're just looking at you like you're crazy. You're high on drugs. Are you kidding me? You're going to win Maine regardless. It's sort of the situation like Kansas we have going on in Kansas, which you have the incumbent Democrat governor who is retiring. She can't run for re-election, and every source is basically saying it's going to be Republican. Republicans have an ultimate advantage in Kansas. We basically said, you know what? We're going to win Kansas. So much that Democrats are basically saying, forget Kansas. We're going to focus playing defense in Wisconsin, Michigan, and probably aim Nevada. And that's a good idea because it would be very stupid of Democrats. And we actually hope you do try to go after Kansas because that would waste opportunity. Going after Kansas and getting the lieutenant governor in, which would be a backfire, by the way, would allow Republicans to put energy, because Republicans are not put tons of money in Kansas because they're going up against not much of a good candidate. You're just going after a state senator, and we have two candidates that are very, very good. I am biased for Scott Schwab, mainly because Scott Schwab is famous for his story due to the death of his son via Schlitterbahn Amusement Park 2016. But you do have you have Scott Schwab. I'm rooting for him. I hope he wins. But you also have a candidate that's also going to probably win by experience, Jeff Koiler, who was governor for a short time from 2018 to 2019. He was sort of like the transitional governor. Actually, no, he was the governor after he did not run in 2018. Chris Kobach ran, which was weird. Why did Collier not run? Now, out of the sudden, Collier wants to run. He should have ran in 2018 to save Republicans, and you didn't. I'm just saying, you had the incumbent advantage. But you get what I'm saying here. But yes, you do have these seats. So yeah, they're going to win Kansas. So that's sort of what I would think. So yeah, political chatter wants to say, pick up Senate seats. I'll say, sure, yeah, you're going to pick up Maine, and probably only Maine, because let's be honest, I do think that John Ossoff is overrated. I am with Red Eagle and his take with John Ossoff. Overrated. He is praised by the many. He is overrated. I mean, for real. So, and not to mention, you look at previous results like 2020, 2021. 2020 really, because that's where he technically lost that election to David Perdue. Now, add to the context, the only reason John Ossoff won was because Republicans weren't going to vote twice in Georgia. And even in this regard, David Perdue did pretty well in the context of Republicans being stubborn and not wanting to show up. Now, if this were like runoff, or let's just say, this runoff style was set into the said, the Senate race for 2025. No, 2020. This was November 3rd. David Perdue would have won. But he couldn't get to 50% because you got libertarian candidate holding him back. And hopefully we don't have that problem. We do have a popular... now, part of the reason was, David Perdue was an incumbent. He had an incumbent... Yeah, he did have a good record. But Georgia has changed so much from 2016. You had Cobb County going more... which was formerly conservative, going more liberal. So, and then you end up with this. So, it is very interesting in that regard. So, yeah, I would say that, I don't think John Ossoff, the polls are going to say that Ossoff will win. This is Senate response bias. Yeah, it doesn't really, you look at this, John Ossoff, you take his approval rating, well, what if it ends up like a Bashir? Well, if it ends up like a Bashir, we're going to have to, right now it's too early. Okay, maybe my opinion will change over time. We'll see how Buddy Carter's campaign goes. If he's running a good campaign, you have the debates. You also have the primaries. We'll see how he does because I believe he is being challenged. Yes, he is. We'll see if, Mike Collins is actually beating Buddy Carter, actually. But Mike Collins is actually a good candidate. He's also a representative. So really, Buddy Carter or Mike Collins, I guess it doesn't matter. We have these two good candidates. So it's going to be a split race, and the split primary can be difficult sometimes in this regards, but we'll see. But right now, we're going to say it's going to be Republican. As we'll give you Michigan, we'll say because Republicans are terrible at turning out in Michigan. North Carolina, I don't know why he's getting excited about North Carolina. Dude, literally, you Roy Cooper, whatever, he's probably going to lose. Maybe he'll do better than Besley. But how is he going to get the African Americans out? This is an establishment Democrat who, in their minds, is not far left enough. How are we going to get the black voters out for him? Black voters don't want to turn out in North Carolina. Though they don't turn out in midterms. Roe v. Wade. Biggest issue in North Carolina. How many court seats did they win? Some judge seats from the appeals court, which really didn't matter in the cases of Roe v. Wade, honestly, but Supreme Court seats. They won 0! None! And Republicans won by large margins, which is outstanding because Democrats didn't show up. They had Roe v. Wade in their fingers, and they did not show up, which shows a lack of organization in North Carolina. They showed up in the presidential race because that's when everyone votes. Yeah, it's like Michigan for Democrats. That is North Carolina. It's like Michigan. Republicans struggle most in Michigan. That's why you see a bloated Gretchen Whitmer win. Landslide win. Secretary of State was also a landslide win. The Attorney General was a landslide win. For real. Now, I want to touch base with the governor's race. Because the governor's race, you got some couple races here. And I would say that you have Georgia. Brett Jones, leaning. Yeah, this is May, but I do think, like, for instance, it depends on who they're running. Now, you have a traitor in the former Republican lieutenant governor, uh, has expressed a run. Goff Duncan, who is just recently joined the Democratic Party. He is an anti-Trump Republican. We are not surprised he joined the Democrat Party. He was late to the party as usual. We wanted him out, and we got what we wanted. But he might run, and I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Goff Duncan would still lose. It doesn't matter if your experience. Oh, I was a former lieutenant governor. Well, here's the problem. Just like what Charlie Crist experienced in Florida, there are Democrats that don't trust you. Okay, they don't trust you. Charlie Crist, former Republican governor, did a lot of conservative stuff and did a lot of liberal stuff. Yeah, but then again, you have a far left base in probably the college area in Alachua County, and they did not unite behind Crist. Now, Crist did overwhelmingly win the Democratic Party, but the others that didn't trust Crist, the more left-wing progressives, they rallied behind Nikki Fried, okay? And just as I thought, look, Alachua County. Why do you think Fried won Alachua County? Because Alachua County have the universities, far-left college students, If you are a Republican, you're forever a Republican, and you are the worst human being on the planet. You cannot make a difference. Democrats don't I would say progressive, far leftists in general, they do not believe in forgiveness. We've seen this time and time again. You supported Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if you don't support Trump anymore. We still hate you. You got him in office. Hey. You got Charlie Crist, huge critic of Trump and DeSantis, and champion for Roe v. Wade. He supported abortion during his term as governor. This isn't good enough for them. Amazing. You also have two other counties, but they're voting different reasons. But yeah, I have doubt that in Georgia you're going to have to need everything in order to win the governor's seat in Georgia, and I think that overall. I think it's going to be the Attorney General. Who is it? Republican primary. Burt Jones has got the Trump endorsement. Chris Carr. Burt Jones is leading this, and he would be the likely successor. And let's be honest. He's second in line to the staff or the mantle. He has a Trump endorsement. He's likely going to take it. And you got a big weird list. You got Mike Thurmond, who was seen as a strong candidate at some point. Well, not anymore. He was in an elected statewide office as Georgia Labor Commissioner. He won some statewide races in a landslide, but that's been like the 1990s. Different climate. You got Derek Jackson. Yeah, you're just getting state-level senators that really haven't run a state-run race before, like Mike, not counting Mike Thurmond. But, yeah, that's why I think Georgia would end up being in that category. Now, I do think that James will probably inch it out because of specifically, he is a well-known candidate. He has the beneficiaries of being in Congress now. We've seen his history in 2020. Now, it's important to recognize it's 2020. Trump supporters were out to vote for President Trump. Now it's a midterm. Perhaps James could end up failing. But let's be honest. We do have let's see here. Let's be honest here. You do have you have a lot of candidates. You have Abdel Al-Sayed. If he's in, then Mike Rogers is easily going to win. But who knows? But I want to specifically look at the independent candidate. You got Mike Duggan actually running, and he's popular in the metro. That's going to take away votes from what's her name? Jocelyn Benson, who is overrated. She is overrated. How is she so popular? I'll tell you why she's so popular. She blows Republicans out because Republicans aren't fighting her. You had a very, very weak Republican for Secretary of State that ran 4 years ago, and she did not give momentum at all. Michigan's gotta have to be a priority this election cycle, for sure. But, oh yeah, this is a Senate race. What am I looking at? This is a Senate race. This is not the governor's race. (2018), yeah, you get these big bloated wins. But now you have Jocelyn Benson, who did very well. But that's specifically due to low propensity Republicans not showing up. They don't care, which is sad. And I think it's a gamble, but I am seeing the pattern of, if you go back to the page, Democrats, Michiganders tend to do the off and on Democrat Republican switch around. So if every time they have their 8 years, they'll let the Republican/Democrat finish their 8 years. The Republican finish their 8 years, then the next year they'll vote for Democrat and let a Democrat have their 8 years. So now it's kind of in a spiral, if you will. And if that spiral is going to continue, then they will be electing James to the governor's mansion. And that's a gamble, but who knows? Now, I do think if Tim Walz were running, that would be a very, very close race. Tim Walz could lose, but that is only if he's running against a good Republican. And I'll tell you, Minnesota, we don't have good Republicans. That's extinct. If you run Mike Lindell, who is actually tweeting a lot about running for governor, hope he does, I think we can win. He is going to incentivize momentum, and hey, campaigning on bringing back the former state flag, which has gotten 150,000 signatures to for the former flag to be brought back in 1 week. 1 week, 150K. That's how much outrage the new flag, the dictatorship flag, which I used to kind of like, but I don't like the idea that the government decided to take away our symbol, the flag we identify. The left wants us to identify us by gender, but they hate it when we use national and state identity. We're not allowed to use national and state identity. And they took away the flag and seal of a good... And I have my opinions on the former state flag, but, it was invalidly taken down. The people should have had a referendum to change the flag. Tampon Tim said no. He simped for the woke Native Americans that were mad about it and totally took advantage of us. And that's not okay. And I think Mike Lindell bringing back the flag, which is very popular, that would get Republicans out voting for him. Because tell me about it. Back when I was criticizing, and I used to be critical, I thought Republicans were just being distracted, but Republicans all over the state legislator Republicans in Minnesota, rally after rally after rally, and it was gaining tons of momentum and tons of attendees, lots of big audience of people to bring back the former state flag. People showed up, people signed signatures. This was in the process of Minnesota trying to draft the new flag back in 2023, early 2024. Now, honestly, I believe that if Lindell runs and he campaigns on that, he will win. I think that's going to happen. But right now, Mike Lindell, he has not declared a run. Tom Emmer got the Trump endorsement. Stupidly, he declined. Tom Emmer started this stupid thing. He was the one who lost to Mark Dayton. And now Mark Dayton's DFL has clenched Minnesota for 4 years. This is like FDR, the New Deal era in Minnesota. We can't get enough of it. Tom Emmer, you got us in it. Now you got to get us out of it. And I only advocate for Emmer to do it because we know he's strong electorally. And maybe, he's just another bad Republican. Oh, well, we should back him. I don't care. You want tampon Maoist Tim Walz to be governor for 4 more years because you don't like Tom Emmer? Give me a break. Or any DFLer. Think Steve Simon's any better? Who knows? Tim Walz showed us that he's not straight and he likes sleeping with Steve Simon and probably the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey. I know it's an outlandish thing to say, but back to our prediction. You have Arizona, which I do think will come out to be pretty compatible over time. I do think that, Katie Hobbs, Democrats in Arizona, they're not the biggest and the strongest. I'm sorry, it's true. They're not the strongest, they're not the brightest, they're not the intelligent. And you'd see from recent results, Doug Ducey, Democrats could have chose a better candidate. No, they didn't. Doug Ducey was just so popular. And he held on to Arizona. And I'll get it. Sure, Arizona was conservative back then. Oh, really? No, because you had Janet Napolitano, whatever her name is, 62%. How did she do that? Yeah, she came in and she was relatively a good governor, but you don't really see much of these Democrats in Arizona. You won't get one into a long time. Okay, there's Bruce Babbitt back in 1982. Yeah, you got Bruce Babbitt, Napolitano, and now you have Katie Hobbs, who is, people are like, meh, we don't know who you are, and we don't care. We run a bet, and Kari Lake, I like her, but she's not a politician, she's a radio host. That's probably main reason. Your politician's always going to get the benefit of the doubt over the radio host because the politician has experience for political office. Now we're running a federal politician against a state politician. Now I think, personally, that's going to turn around. You have registration soaring for Republicans, and that's another thing that Political Chatter won't talk about. The rising registration. Like, seriously, bro. You talk about how unpopular Donald Trump is. You won't add the registration that, Pennsylvania is pretty much already flipped to Republicans. You have Arizona, Republicans jumping in the registration there. Nevada's no longer Democrat. Republicans lead there. And it's going to likely be probably like the leaning margin or a tilting margin or something like that. Hey! Why don't you add that? You say you're unbiased. No one takes him seriously with that. Do you take Political Chatter seriously when he says he's unbiased? I don't. But you'll finish up with Wisconsin, and we'll hit the House races, which we won't spend much time on, seeing that we are already running out of time and it's getting late. But you have also the Wisconsin race, and I'm not sure if Wisconsin is like Michigan where they swap. They're pretty flexible with their governors. I think on paper they would. I mean, look, they voted for Trump twice. They voted for Obama twice, and they voted for Bush. None. But let's be honest. Wisconsin was pretty blue back then. But yeah, you have sort of, since Scott well, actually no, because Scott Macklem took over the Thompson administration. But Jim Doyle, going from Jim Doyle, Scott Walker, Tony Evers, I guess Democrats, depending on who were running as a nominee, they could possibly hold on to the seat. Let's be honest, this is also a state that Republicans also struggle with propensity in. Rust Belt, we seem to really struggle in getting that said nomination. But here's some good news. Cyril Rodriguez has refused to run. Actually, no. What am I saying? Duh. No. Actually, no. What? This doesn't make sense. Declined. Sarah Rodriguez, incumbent lieutenant governor. Oh, this is lieutenant governor. Never mind. I thought we got good news that she declined to run. No, Sarah Rodriguez is running for lieutenant. She's running for governor. And the good news on that is we don't know who she is. I mean, we do know who she is, but we don't know how she performs on the map politically. Now, this could be come up with a public. Mandela Barnes could run, who is also pretty relatively weak, as you're looking at a weak Republican like Ron Johnson. Couldn't really take on Ron Johnson out of all years, and Ron Johnson actually picked up counties that he didn't pick up in 2016. Yeah, this would be pretty good for Republicans if Mandela Barnes ran. Let's be honest. He's pretty weak. But you also got, yes, who are we running exactly? Not publicly expressed. We're still waiting on Tom Tiffany. But you got some potential here. No, Tommy Thompson's too old. He is 80-something. He was born in 1941. Too old, and he had his term. Not to mention, he lost pretty badly in 2012. Tim Michaels, I don't want to see him again. He lost. And then you have Rebecca Kleefisch, former lieutenant governor. Don't know if I probably would think. I don't think she would pull it off. Mary Filkowski. I do think. I don't mean to be sexist, but I do think a Republican male. You need a Republican male in order to win Wisconsin. That's just the way it is. It's just one of those states. But yeah, I really don't know where to put Wisconsin. I probably would say tilting as of right now because we just have bad candidates running in general. But yeah, this is our analysis for the governor's races. But let's go up to the House. And same deal. I'm just saying, Democrats, they're not going to win the House. I know Red Eagle said recently, they still can. Well, what are the chances that this Senate map is going to be approved by the Texas legislature? What are the chances that California, Gavin Newsom, is going to go with this greasy new map that they came up with? They'll say, the chances are pretty high. Well, yeah, sure, on paper they seem high. But then again, you got to realize that this redistricting in California very unpopular among Californian voters. I'm just saying, Gavin Newsom, he doesn't know this, but he's giving Republicans to win something this year. If Republicans lose Virginia and New Jersey, and they win the California ballot measure, preventing Democrats and Gavin Newsom from gaining seats and flipping seats in California, that's a W. That's a W good night. Because as much as Democrats want to take a victory lap over Virginia and New Jersey, they're blue states that Kamala Harris won. They voted for Trump. They voted against Trump 3 times. And the average voter is not going to be, Democrats did it! No, they're going to be like, oh, these states are blue states. So what? You got back Virginia. Blue Virginia that voted for Trump 3 times. It's like Maine, right? It's just like Maine. You got Glenn Youngkin, even though we have the lieutenant governor in there, we're trying to get her in. Doesn't look like she's going to win. Our expectations are set. But if we win the California ballot measure, that's a W. That's a W. And Democrats can brag about winning 2025 races in New Jersey and Virginia. No, in the most compatible race, you blew it in Texas. But, yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, California, I blew in Texas. So I'm not going to go over this map again, mainly because of the amount of time we have right now. But the map is generally very good for us. You have, us picking up an additional amount of seats. You also have us going into Florida. And the relativeness is we're going to probably, if the weakest amount of redistricting we're going to actually pick up is probably ending up putting the bar at 217 or 216. We are pretty much almost to the maximum amount of seats needed to pick up and win the said House of Representatives. Admitted. But you do have, let's just see. I know I said, I wouldn't do it, but see if my theory is still right, though. We're taking out Al Green. He should be punished for the service he did to this country. Julia Johnson, we're taking out, allegedly. Jasmine Crockett actually is still going to be more Democrat. I misunderstood in the last video what they were actually doing. Relative, if they're picking up 8 seats, is kind of disputed. I think Democrats are projecting, but you got 213 already. You also have the Florida seats. Relatively, we're probably going to introduce legislation that's going to take out Emmanuel Cleaver's seat. We're going to look at Florida. And Democrats will do their countering, and I'm sure they'll try to do their best to rig the commission, whatever. But we'll see about it. 217. And let's just say, let's give Democrats benefit of doubt. Well, Democrats, they get their way in flipping 3 seats. Well, they will keep this. They'll flip this seat. They'll flip the 3rd district. And let's just say, they flip the 1st district or something. They had the 1st district or this district. You just have these 3 districts and the 13th district. Yeah, Republicans still are leading with triple digits. I don't count the 0 in between the 2 and the 5. But you also have Ohio. We forgot about Ohio, guys. Ohio. We're definitely going to win those 2 districts there. And let's be honest. Jared Golden's done in Maine. He has shown that even with the brat queens coming out and voting, that he can't even pull off a much more impressive win. Don Davis has performed a weak result. He's going to depend on the African-American vote to turn out. They're not. Unless Roy Cooper does something. So looks like Republicans are going to be picking up seats. Democrats could pick up Marionette Miller Weeks' seat. They could pick up Derek Van Orton. They could pick up a majority of these seats, but they need a gain net worth of 2. If they don't get its gain net worth, and the fact is we are redistricting so much, I don't think Democrats can get that gain net worth. They can flip Tom Barrett's seat. They can flip Scott Perry's seat, or Ryan McKenzie's seat. They can win that seat also. They can win Gabe Evans' seat. But guess what? We win in Arizona. We win. Look at that. So, I think Democrats are grasping for straws right now. I know I was going to say this was going to be the very like 2018. I was going to compare it to 2018. I don't have time for that anymore. But it's fine. We dismantled political chatter's argument about Democrats picking up seats in the Senate. That's not going to happen. You're going to probably end up with me. And you're probably not going to end up with North Carolina, no matter who you run. No matter who you run. Now, if you run Roy Cooper in a Senate election in a presidential year, I think he can win. Because everyone's out voting. So that's kind of my take. But what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.